I'm Jake Kazdal. I'm a game designer. I have been for over 20 years. I'm from Seattle, which is home to Nintendo, Microsoft, countless other game studios. I grew up playing arcade games at my dad's pizza parlors, and this is pretty much the only thing I've ever done with my life that I'm any good at. That's me striking the pose at BitSummit 2014. I am hugely inspired by nature and design. I love video games, and I love everything about Japan, so I'm packing up everything I own, which is getting to be a lot, and we are relocating to Kyoto this fall sometime. I love Japan, I love video games, I love design, I love nature, and it all kind of ties together here in lovely Kyoto. This is the first game I did as an independent studio, 17-bit, which I formed in 2009 along with a couple of friends of mine that I worked with together at EA in Los Angeles. Skulls of the Shogun won a ton of awards. It was based in Japan's afterlife, based on these samurai warriors, kind of visually styled after 60s, 1980s, or 1960s Japanese animation. My family is growing. I have a wife who's lovely, Japanese, and we have two rambunctious little talented little boys. And we have been living in Seattle for the last couple of years, but the older we're getting with these guys, the more we're realizing that the Japanese culture is hugely fascinating, and we want to be able to share all this kind of relevance and culture and history with our kids. I have a team of 8 designers, engineers, and artists in the industrial district of downtown Seattle. We are hard at work on the retro future space shooter Galak-Z for PlayStation 4, Vita, and PC. It's a very daring, kind of weird look at an old genre, but we are half old veterans and half brand new young guys that are very green, but it's a really good combination. I absolutely love Kyoto. It's been a huge inspiration to me for a long time. It's home to Nintendo, tons of nature, and just kind of tons of history and culture. It's a beautiful, civilized city full of incredible amounts of history and a rich legacy with all kinds of design, which is really important to me. It's a perfect spot for us to set up shop and try to appeal to a worldwide, ever-growing games market. I feel compared to Tokyo, Kyoto is much more sustainable lifestyle for us. It's super funky, it's chill, it's full of history and culture and a tradition of design. It's just a culture of excellence. The family now, we all feel like we could set up shop in Kyoto and kind of settle down roots here and basically be here for as long as we need to, with access to Osaka and Tokyo whenever I need more of the big city hustle. I'm hugely visually driven, and I've always found Japan to be one of the most visually exciting places on the planet. Kyoto never fails to deliver, and it's impossible to convey how important it is for me to be visually inspired every day, which is one of the biggest reasons I want to spend the rest of my life here. This is a long one. The Japanese aesthetic that I love so much applies kind of to all facets of life here. I think anything they do, they sort of take it all the way, and for better and for worse, it's a very different culture. But there's a sense of aesthetic and pride and sort of just tradition here that I find really inspiring for my own work, and it's something I like to surround myself with on a daily basis. Osaka is right next door to Kyoto, and it's a world-class megacity with endless inspirations, tons of design, ideas, and industry legends like Keiji Inafune of Concept is a friend of mine. There's a ton of that kind of game old-school culture here, and I can't wait to be able to tap into it. It's a bustling megalopolis, very different from Tokyo in many ways, but I can't wait to be able to draw on its inspirations. Kyoto is home to 2 of the pioneers of the Japanese independent game scene, Giles Goddard of Vitae and Dylan Cuthbert of Q Games, both of whom have long been huge inspirations to me, and I'm proud to call them both friends. I met them both years ago while we were all in Tokyo. I guess Giles was still in Kyoto, but Dylan and I were in Tokyo, and he was at Sony, I was at Sega, and those guys have led the way in a lot of ways. In 1998, I met legendary game producer Tetsuya Mizuguchi, and in 1999, he brought me to Tokyo to join Sega to create genre-defying, daring new art games based on a heavy sense of aesthetics. It was an incredible period of time in gaming, and the Dreamcast was a hotbed of original game development, and I'm so proud to have been a part of this amazing period of games history. I was an animator and artist on Space Channel 5, which was based on the feeling of watching a musical and being a part of the music as opposed to just, tapping buttons, and really interacting with the game surely through rhythm and timing. We had nothing to copy, and it was very creatively challenging, and we drew influences from an incredible range of sources, but it was one of the most satisfying projects I've ever worked on. Directly after that, I went to work on Rez, which has become one of the most highlights of my career. It's widely regarded as one of the original, most amazing art games of all time, and it's still talked about all the time. It was one of the most challenging, rewarding, enlightening periods of my life. Mizuguchi-san taught me an incredible amount about the value of aesthetics in gaming, and that really has gone on to define kind of my entire studio now. This is our current project, Galak-Z, again, very visually, aesthetically driven. It's all about the little things, like how the little effects happen, the feeling, a different sense of aesthetics, and sort of genre-defying, a new type of gameplay that tickles the brain in a way that I find super important for my own life creatively, but I also think is necessary for just gaming in general. Here in Japan, I just have a fascinating scene of expat designers and friends. They're all sort of drawn to the same reasons that I am to Japan. This is my friend James Lyle. He's ex-Namco Japan, and he's been involved for years now in all sorts of photography, product design, Japanese street culture. I love surrounding myself with people like this, and I just never get enough. There's another one, Swery. He's a crazy independent game designer from Osaka. One of the most balls-to-the-wall, full-living guys I've ever met. And being around him, you can't help but be completely inspired, completely just driven to, break down barriers and create the world's next great games. This guy's out of control. I love hanging out with him. This is my friend Nakayama-san, who's a Capcom artist. He's a visual designer and concept artist at Capcom and ex-Nintendo. He's also one of the most talented guys I know, and being able to be around these guys on a daily basis just drives me to do the best I can, constantly be learning. This guy has already taught me so much stuff, and you can't help but just kind of grow and grow and grow around people like this. The Kyoto indie scene is really burgeoning right now. It's really blowing up. There's a lot of talented people here drawn for the same kind of reasons that I am, and I love surrounding myself with people who kind of think and are inspired by the same sort of things that I am. I think the scene here is really blowing up, and I can't wait to bring my guys over here and kind of really help Kyoto to become, one of the homes of independent gaming in Japan. We're recording this here at BitSummit 2014. This is the lineup in the morning of the first public day. We didn't know what to expect. We had no idea how big this was going to be, but the show has been an absolute success. There's, obviously a huge appetite for independent games and sort of seeing original new development. And Kyoto is absolutely becoming one of the hotspots for this, and I can't wait to be a part of it.